Welcome to the Underground, the Steel City Underground, a Pittsburgh Steelers podcast made by fans like you, for fans like you. Now, here's your host, Joe Kuzma.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Steel City Underground Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Kuzma, and I'm going to try something new today, folks. This is going to be maybe the first of several editions of something I would like to call Joe's Pet Peeves. So if you saw the label and saw JPP, we're not talking about Jason Pierre-Paul. We're talking about Joe's Pet Peeves. And just to give you an idea of where this thought initially came from, I get a lot of things that bother me. And on social media, I started like this fictitious kind of list. It was something very similar to, I don't know if you remember some of the commercials where they had like a man rule or just anything in advertising where it says like, I don't know, man law number 101 or something like that, or number 39. And what it ended up happening was I used to look at those things and laugh and say, those rules, it's just made up. They don't have like 100 of those. They don't have 1,000 of those. There's no number 40 or number 38 that precedes that. And it started as a joke where I would find things that irritated me throughout the day. And I'm like, you know what? That bugs me. That's going on this list. And I'm just going to assign an arbitrary number. But unlike any of these marketing gimmicks, I actually kept track of an entire list, and it's well over 100. And those are like personal things in my own personal life. I even had like a website that was dedicated to it at one point. It's still out there. I just haven't, with all the stuff going on with Steel City Underground, I don't have a whole lot of time for much of anything else. So just that plug isn't necessarily intended to link you over there. As I give it more dedication, maybe it will, and I might keep up with some of that. But I thought, why not bring the Joe's Pet Peeve thing here to Steel City Underground, to the podcast, especially during the off season here. This is very similar. It's going to differ, similar but differ with the WTF podcast, where I want this to be a little more entertaining. And actually, this first episode and the topic of which I'm going to discuss here in a second may violate the essence and the whole idea of it being a pet peeve, because if it's a pet peeve, I don't want to necessarily be talking about it if it bothers me, but it has to be discussed. It's under my skin, and I say, what a better way to kick this off. It may be somewhat controversial, but I'm not looking to strike up controversy. So this is why I was a little, apprehensive to maybe begin with talking about politics and sports. And I want everything to be on this JPP. It's not going to be like, hey, you guys have heard me talk about like the Jagoffs that were cutting grass and preventing me from recording because all you could hear was in the background during the summer. And also there was like one time where I got behind this school bus that must have stopped 4 or 5 times on the same road letting kids. I remember when I was going to school, they'd drop me off like 3 blocks down the street. I mean, I could have been abducted for all we know. And, I'm in my mid-30s, so I'm not exactly a lot of people will be like, man, that's young. And a lot of people are like Eric Herman, who was teasing me on the last episode. He's going to call me the old man. So either way, those are the kind of things I'm talking about here, and they're meant to be mostly in jest. And some of this is just the politics and sports thing has gotten to me so much over the last year or so. And now there's things that I don't want this to be political, okay? Myself, I'm very independent thinking. There are things I lean one side or the other on. I'm a liberty lover. I'm an American. I love certain things about America. There are other things that disappoint me, but I'm not going to get into those. That's not the purpose for this. The purpose for this is whether you think you're right or wrong, or both sides. Usually when you're talking about politics, there's usually a duopoly and 2 sides that you're talking about. Both sides think they're right, or both sides think the other side's wrong, or whatever be the case. That's not the type of argument I'm trying to make here. I'm just trying to make the argument that, guys, I watch football or any other sport because I try to get away from this stuff. I think most people over the course of the last year, this election, regardless of how you felt with the turnout, no matter who you supported, you are disgusted by it, and you're sick of seeing it even to this very day. And I don't want to turn people off to the concept of this JPP, because this will be the last time I want to talk about anything political whatsoever. In fact, if you notice, I do not bring up politics with Steel City Underground, be it in our writing, be it on our podcast, anything we do, I try to stay away, with the exception of the shirts we had that were mocking the Clinton and Trump campaigns with the Killer Bees Stronger Together and the Mike Tomlin kind of Trump sort of t-shirt sign deal, just kind of a parody there. I don't get involved with this stuff because I really, really, really can't stomach it. I almost stay off of Facebook and Twitter because I see so many things that people share, and it drives me nuts, especially when it's either hypocritical or it's not factual, or you can't even figure out if it's factual anymore. Geez, somebody got spoofed pretty good even within our own Steel City Underground team that we have here, and this wasn't even political. This is just talking about just the junk and the garbage that's out there on the internet, saying that the Steelers traded for Tony Romo. I saw that actually more than just someone on our own team, they saw it, but a few other people that I'm close with, and I'm like, and people were tagging me with it, like friends and family members, and I'm like, this is just junk, like, please. But I watch sports to get away. I don't watch sports to get someone's idea of how something should be run or done. That's not why we're here. I'm certainly not an expert on those things. Everybody can be opinionated on those things. But the reason I get involved and watch something like the Pittsburgh Steelers in the NFL is because I want to see football. That's what it comes down to. Primary numero uno right there. Football. I do not care about anything else that's going on. It's like watching award shows with the celebrities. I just, movies, anything. I don't want this stuff front and center. So have I hit a nerve yet with anybody? I think if you're feeling that underneath your fingertips, underneath your skin, you understand the essence of what my pet peeves are. And that's the essence of what I'm going to be talking about right now, because quite frankly, we saw how the election played out, and of the people who voted, because I don't know, and this isn't hardcore facts here. I could care less what these numbers are. It does not mean a hill of beans to me. I'm going to say half the country, at least a third of the country, didn't vote. A significant number of those who did, half of them voted for candidate A, half voted for candidate B. I don't even want to mention names because I really, really can't stand politics, and I don't want to talk politics. It is my pet peeve, right? So half the country, immediately, half of the voters don't care about the other half of the voters' opinions. So when you come out and say things politically anywhere, people don't care, and that's within the political sphere. The other half didn't even care enough to vote, so they don't care about politics, period, or the third or whatever non-voting population that was out there. So what you end up doing is when you say just stupid things. Do you remember Rashard Mendenhall by any chance? We'll talk about a Steeler for example. He said those insensitive things how long ago? It was 2010 or so, maybe just before. He was talking about 9/11 and conspiracy theories and all these other things. It did not make him a beloved figure across the nation, or in sports, or in the NFL, or even in Pittsburgh for that matter. We saw some sports and some athletes that certain candidates were trying to hitch their saddles to, and some did and some didn't, and some were trying to distance themselves from that. I could see why. You end up alienating your followers and your fan base. So when I'm following people on Twitter, for example, there are beat writers and columnists and insiders for the NFL on a national level, and they end up retweeting something, and I don't care who it's for or against. I do not. Red, blue, doesn't matter to me. It could be yellow, green, or purple for all that matters. You know what? I don't care. Don't do it. I'm not following, and I don't want to mention any names because, number one, I'm not going to make anybody a target. I don't want to disparage anyone as far as any of these reporters or insiders. If you follow them, you already know who they are and what they do. But when we follow your public-facing persona, if you want that in private, or you want to do that aside from your job, we see people get fired from their companies for making some of these insensitive comments that are politically charged. It's because we don't want to see it. We really don't. It's one of the reasons, or alleged or rumored reasons, NFL ratings have been down. And I could see why. When I open up my phone in the morning and I see beat writers, local, be it the Steelers or another team, just commenting on politics. You're a sports writer. You are a Steelers beat writer, for example, because it's not all just Steelers beat writers. I'm not saying it is Steelers beat writers exclusively, but to see you comment about politics, and you have an outlet, I agree. You have people who follow you, some in the tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands in that, for that matter. They're not following you because they want to hear your opinion on the current president, the former president, someone who was running for president. We only care about sports. We only care about football, the NFL, the Steelers, whatever other team it might be, Panthers, 49ers. We do not care about all the other garbage. So please just knock it off. I know they're not listening to me, and they won't listen to me. I'll probably say, no, I need to do it even more. It just turns people off to the reason they're following you. I'm going to give everybody an example here, and this could be good or bad. I used to be a performing and entertainment type profession, and I had an alias, and that alias was completely separate from Joe Kuzma, the person you're listening to right now. I did not bleed the two together. Everything I did in that realm was in that sort of theater. It was there, it was in that bubble, and that's it. That's all it ever was. It was that form of entertainment, and Joe Kuzma and everything I did was separate. My wife, my family, my kid, separate, private. The other thing, public, and if I had an opinion on something, even if it was sports and talking about the Steelers, it did not belong with that alias. It would belong with me and myself, because I understood the audience that was following that other persona or alias, that character that I had. It didn't belong there. They didn't want to hear any of this trash, or whether they agreed with it or not. It's not the time nor place. So I hope I'm not ranting too much, but hey, I'm on the soapbox. This is Joe's pet peeves, after all. So aside from all this stuff, it's just, this is what really set me off. And it wasn't somebody just local or somebody. I'm actually seeing people who run PR departments in the NFL. And I'm not going to name names or teams, or even if it's the league overall, but it's someone obviously in a very high standing place, someone that has like a title of a VP of, I don't know, communications, for example, maybe. I'm not going to say if this is a male or female person that has been doing this, but it's like, geez, the only thing you have tweeted over the last 5 days, besides missing football on Sunday, is stuff about this, that, or the other thing that has nothing to do with missing football. It has nothing to do with football. It has nothing to do with your profession. Can we please just separate the two and keep them apart? Because it's driving me crazy to see this stuff. And I'm sure it's driving other people away from following sports. In fact, if you have the same opinion as me, call into our hotline and let me know. Or just text me and let me know. If you want it to stay anonymous, stay anonymous. I like that people say their name and where they're from because it's fun. But I wouldn't mind hearing some thoughts on this. It's 203-900-4SCU. And I'll play some of these on the air, maybe on the next JPP. And I may have more of these, maybe more than just a once a week. It's just when something gets under my craw and I feel it in my gut. So just in general, the whole politics thing, the most recent one is really the players who are coming out and saying they're not going to go to the White House. I don't care. And I think that's where it really boils down to. Go if you would like to. I think it would be an honor to go to the White House. It doesn't matter who sits in that chair in the Oval Office. I mean, how many times you get to go to the White House, have an opportunity to do that or shake the hand of a standing president, whether you agree with them or not. You know what? People are never going to agree. That's the very essence of us all being unique. Steelers fans, can we even agree on anything? I think the only person we ever agree on maybe is Ben Roethlisberger. We like him. We liked Troy Polamalu, but how many people can agree that Todd Haley is a good offensive coordinator or not? They can't. They can't agree if Mike Tomlin's a good coach or not. People can't agree if Le'Veon Bell should be re-signed, retained, franchise tagged, whether should we get rid of Antonio Brown, all these other things. And a lot of those things drive me absolutely crazy. So if you can't agree on that, how are you going to agree on anything else? I've often said that if you put 10 people in a room and said, okay, you get to order, I don't know, how many pizzas can feed 10 people, 2 or 3, right? So let's say you're ordering 2 or 3 pizzas and you have to decide what toppings are on them. There's going to be a faction of people who don't want any toppings, just cheese. Maybe they don't like sauce, light sauce, no sauce. There's going to be somebody in there that doesn't even want pizza. You're never going to agree. So why do we put up with these things? If somebody comes out and makes a statement, I don't want to go to the White House, I really think they're just drawing attention to themselves. And they're using this whole politically charged environment that we're currently living in, this landscape, in order to draw more attention to themselves. But really, does anyone care that these people... And then the other thing being is we have these sports outlets, the ESPNs, the Bleacher Reports of the world, that cover this type of thing and blow it right out of proportion. And, of course, there's no NFL news going on, so any little tidbit of stuff that trickles out there ends up being news and ends up being a bigger deal than it really should be. I think it's silly. I mean, if somebody doesn't want to go, they don't want to go. I heard that Tom Brady didn't go like the one time, and he's won what, like 5 Super Bowls or whatever. So it doesn't make anybody a good or a bad person if they want to go. They could disagree with whatever they want to disagree with, and we just all just get along and just let it go. It's really not that big of a deal. I mean, is it disrespectful to somebody? Somebody might view it that way, but look, go back to my pizza example. You're going to disrespect somebody that's a vegetarian or vegan if you get a pizza with a meat topping like sausage or pepperoni on it. You just cannot please everyone. You should never try to please everyone. Even I try to please as many people as possible by doing this broadcast. I really do, and I appreciate all my listeners. And if you find this as a good segment, trust me, the other ones probably won't be as controversial as saying some stuff like that. But I think we could all agree that we're kind of over it and we just kind of want to do something else. We want to enjoy sports. We don't want to have to think about whether we like or dislike somebody like, let's say, Tom Brady or Bill Belichick because of whoever they support in politics. We just don't like them because they win and we feel they cheat and we're sick of them beating the Steelers, right? So that much we could all agree and get along on. So if you do agree with me on the politics and sports thing, or disagree, I'd love to hear some of your own comments. So folks, I'm going to be back probably next week with some more interesting things. I wanted to talk about quarterbacks, and I can probably crank out 2 or 3 different pieces and podcasts and everything else. We're going to have a lot of articles over on steelcityunderground.com throughout not only the weekend, but through next week. We're going to finish up the awards. Eric Herman will be back. We're going to talk about some of those predictions that we made last June on the defensive side of the ball. So stay tuned and hang in there with us. This is the first ever kind of sub-episode of the Steel City Underground podcast, the JPP, the Joe's Pet Peeves. And if you enjoyed it, great. If not, well, I don't know. Like I said, you can't please everyone. Until next time, be safe, be good, and I will catch you later.
We would like to thank you for listening and remind our listeners to follow us on social media and our website, www.steelcityunderground.com.